Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. We are focusing today on a company that sits right at the epicenter of digital finance and crypto infrastructure, Circle Internet Group. The question we are tackling, based on the stack of sources you provided, is the critical one every investor is pondering right now. Is this a good time to buy this stock? We've got massive volatility here, huge global aspirations, and some financials that seem to pull in, well, completely opposite directions. Before we get started, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment below. If there's a specific company you want us to look into next, drop that name in the comments. We really do love getting your ideas.
Indeed, and our mission today is really to cut through that confusing data. Circle operates in this fascinating space, leveraging its flagship stablecoin, USDC. We have a robust mix of fundamental data, technical price action, and several forward-looking catalysts. The core conflict we need to address is this. What do these conflicting numbers truly reveal about their current risk versus reward profile?
Okay, let's unpack the fundamentals then. And this is where the split personality really begins. We have to separate the top line from the bottom line. Let's start with the undeniably good news. Market adoption seems to be roaring. The latest trailing 12 months TTM revenue stands at a healthy $2.12 billion.
That is strong evidence of market leadership, definitely. If we look specifically at the full year 2024 revenue, it hit $1.68 billion. That's a healthy year-over-year increase of 15.57% from 2023. Shows their services are being adopted, scaled globally.
Right, that adoption is the foundation of the bullish case, no doubt. But here's where the paradox enters, and something you, the listener, need to grasp immediately. Despite bringing in over $2 billion, the company is not profitable. TTM net income is currently a devastating net loss of $399.2 million.
And this is the operational reality, isn't it?
Yeah.
Scaling in an expensive, complex, and regulation-heavy sector. That massive net loss translates to an earnings per share sitting deep in the red at negative $5.81.
And it gets worse from what I saw.
It does, unfortunately. If we look at their 2024 net earnings, which stood at about $18 million, even that number decreased significantly compared to the previous year, a nearly 60% year-over-year drop in net earnings. Think of it like a company running a marathon. They ran further, right, higher revenue, but their internal costs caused them to slow down dramatically, resulting in a severe deterioration of the net result. They are bringing in more money, but they are burning cash faster to do it. It's a tough dynamic.
That sets up the cost of hope valuation, as you might call it. We have a massive market cap, $33.36 billion, attached to a company that is currently hemorrhaging cash at a rate of nearly $400 million a year. So why? Why is the market willing to pay $33 billion for that dynamic?
Yeah, that's the question. It's because the market is pricing in absolute stablecoin dominance and a complete reversal of fortunes. It has to be. We must look at future expectations, which is why the forward price-to-earnings ratio stands at an exceptionally high 192.8. That isn't a valuation based on current performance. That's the market screaming that it expects a massive, swift earnings recovery amid those ongoing losses. That valuation is sustained purely on speculation, not current results.
And speaking of trust and maybe speculation, we have to address a critical caveat from the sources. We lack verifiable 10K or 10Q filings. Can you quickly explain why that matters so much to you, the investor? What are we missing when those documents are absent?
Right. Well, these are the audited reports required by the SEC. As simple as that. They are the only documents that definitively prove how much cash they have on hand, their detailed operational efficiency metrics, and the true extent of their debt load. Missing them is a massive black hole of trust, really. That opacity adds a definitive layer of risk and uncertainty to the entire fundamental picture. It forces us to rely on external summaries instead of official, verifiable financial health reports. Yeah. Big difference.
Okay, so it's clear the financials present a kind of split personality. High growth, high losses, high hopes. Let's see if the price chart reflects this chaos. Let's move into the technical analysis. For those focused on price action, the stock is a legitimate roller coaster. As of September 19th, the price was around $144.57.
But the volatility is just extreme. The 52-week range is staggering. We saw a low of $64 back on June 5th, 2025, and a high of $298.99 just 3 weeks later on June 23rd.
Wow.
That's almost a 500% move in 3 weeks. That is not just high volatility, that is sheer news-driven chaos.
That scale of movement suggests a momentum swing driven entirely by market sentiment, right? Not quarterly earnings. What's fascinating here is that strong downward reversal from those all-time highs near $300. Where does that leave us technically now?
Well, it shows a loss of intermediate and long-term momentum following that June peak pretty clearly. Technically, the stock is likely trading below both its 50-day and 200-day moving averages. which is often, a warning sign of a sustained downtrend, or at least consolidation. So for the technical traders listening, you need to mark specific levels very clearly. Key support to watch is the $130 to $140 range. That seems critical. If the stock dips below that, given the fundamental instability we just talked about, it gets back to rapid tests of the next lower floor. On the upside, the short-term ceiling, or immediate resistance, looks like $160 to $170, which aligns pretty neatly with recent average analyst targets, actually. But the level it needs to breach for a real recovery that's significantly higher, above $200.
Okay, so we have strong adoption, crippling losses, a speculative valuation, extreme price swings. Let's look at the external factors, the sentiment and the news driving this high wire act. What does Wall Street, who's supposedly paid to be rational, think about all this?
Well, Wall Street is actively, let's say, divided on this stock, which tells you everything about the uncertainty. The consensus is a cautious hold from 14 analysts. But look under the hood. We have 3 sell ratings, 5 hold ratings, 5 buy ratings, and 1 strong buy. That's a fundamentally split room.
Yeah, that wide range reflects how differently analysts weigh the potential, say, regulatory breakthrough versus the current operational losses. It's a bet either way.
Exactly. The average target price across these analysts is $170.91. which suggests a moderate upside, maybe about 18% from the current price level. But crucially, the high target sits way up at $250, and the low target is down at $83. That massive gap implies it's either going to double or get cut in half, depending on which side of that regulatory tightrope it lands on. Huge dispersion.
Let's discuss the recent drivers then. It seems sentiment has been shifting rapidly. We saw a boost in September, didn't we?
We did, yeah. A major partnership with Kraken was announced in September. The aim was to expand the global utility of their stablecoins, and that caused shares to rise about 3%. It just demonstrates how sensitive the stock is to positive news about platform expansion. Any hint of progress.
But that rise was immediately checked by the fundamental reality, wasn't it? Because rewind to July, and we saw multiple analyst downgrades, and remember Compass Point reducing its rating to sell. Those partnerships aren't solving the core issue of profitability, are they?
Precisely. That downgrade reflected a growing wariness among, let's say, serious money managers about the sustained competitive pressure and the timeline for actually turning a profit. How long can this go on?
Right. Looking forward now, the next 3 months are poised to be truly pivotal. There are several high volatility catalysts that you need to watch if you are considering a position here.
Absolutely. Circle's Q3 2025 earnings call, scheduled for October 28th. That's going to be crucial. Analysts will be scrutinizing this report for any signs of operational efficiency improvement, and most importantly, any proof that the sector recovery is starting to narrow those net losses, any movement in the right direction.
Okay, and beyond earnings, institutional flows could drive volatility in November and December, too.
For sure. November 10th involves a major ETF rebalancing. That's when passive funds adjust their holdings, which can cause large mandated buying or selling pressure, regardless of the company's news that day.
And then December 5th brings the release of 13F filings.
Right, which will definitively reveal if the largest institutional investors are either initiating or, perhaps more worryingly, dumping their positions. We'll see the big money moves.
Interesting. And there's a seasonal factor, too.
Yeah, and a highly specific one. Stablecoin transaction volumes are expected to surge around Thanksgiving, November 28th. This provides a real-time, high-definition measure of platform adoption and market penetration during a historically high-activity period, a sort of live stress test.
Okay, this all brings us back to that central conflict, that split personality. Given the scale of the losses, the opacity in the financials, the extreme volatility, what are the primary persistent risks we need to focus on?
Okay, the risks are, frankly, the reason why the stock is not a straightforward buy right now. First and foremost, the financial risk. Those consistent, persistent net losses and negative profit margins. They're a constant drag on the valuation. And they raise serious questions about the long-term capital requirements. How much more money will they need?
Makes sense. What's next?
Yes, second, regulatory risk. This company's entire business model is heavily exposed to global regulatory shifts regarding stablecoins and digital assets. That's unavoidable. Any adverse ruling, particularly in the US or Europe, could materially affect their growth or even chop off certain key business lines. It's a major overhang.
Okay, financial, regulatory.
And finally, market risk. Price performance remains heavily correlated with overall crypto sector sentiment. Bitcoin sneezes, Circle might catch a cold. This means if the broader digital asset market dips, Circle will almost certainly suffer an amplified drop, compounding its own stock-specific volatility.
So if we connect all this to the bigger picture, the stack of sources provides an overall rating of, what, 510? Middle of the road, really. Strong revenue and market leadership are compelling, yes, but they seem fully balanced, maybe even outweighed by the extreme valuation, those persistent net losses, and the very high regulatory risk we just discussed.
Exactly. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? The sources suggest a pretty clear distinction in investment approach here. This is not recommended for a long-term buy-and-hold investment, at least not until the core profitability issues and those persistent regulatory risks are definitively resolved. Too much uncertainty.
So instead, it's more of a trader stock then.
That's exactly right. It seems best suited only for short-term trading by highly risk-tolerant investors, people who can actively manage the extreme news-driven volatility we've seen. If you are trading this, you're basically betting on the outcome of those upcoming catalysts, the earnings report, the partnership news, maybe the ETF rebalancing, and you're using those technical levels, like the $130 support, as your line in the sand, your risk management point.
That makes perfect sense given the sheer chaos of that 52-week range, $64 to $300. We know that high forward PE of 192.8 relies entirely on massive future expectations, pure hope almost. So let's end with a provocative thought that pushes the limits of that speculation cited in the sources. What happens if there's a major U.S. regulatory breakthrough, something that solidifies the status of stablecoins, makes them a clear, regulated financial instrument? Or what if the rumors are true and a Tier 1 Asian exchange integrates USDC as its primary settlement layer, a massive adoption event?
Well, those are the moonshot scenarios.
Right.
Right. Those are the things that might justify the $33 billion market cap in hindsight. If either of those speculative catalysts materializes, if they somehow solve that regulatory black hole overnight, how quickly would this already extremely volatile stock jump? Could it head towards that high analyst target of $250? That is the ultimate risk-reward tightrope we're looking at here.
It's binary almost.
It really is. A bet on potential exponential growth versus a heavy discounting of current fundamental losses. Thank you for sharing your sources and letting us guide you through this analysis of Circle Internet Group. We hope this exploration helps inform your next steps in navigating the volatile but, let's face it, exciting world of digital finance. We'll catch you next time.